It's no great secret that Terese Nielsen is one of my favorite artists for Magic the Gathering. Nielsen has such an iconic, lovely style, it makes her stand out very much against other fantasy artists, especially fantasy artists for Magic the Gathering, a game where a lot of the card art has become really homogenized over time. Now, that's not to say that Terese Nielsen doesn't have competition at the top. I do like several other Magic artists, in particular the Foglios. In fact, it feels like every morning I wake up and my two brain cells left are having a boxing match between which of these artists I like more. But more often than not, it does come down to Terese Nielsen sitting at the top. She has such a lovely, soft, also vibrant and beautiful style where she includes mathematical perfection alongside natural beauty in her art, and it really does make her very unique among artists still making art, I suppose. I like her. There's no real way around it. I'm not an art critic, I'm barely a story critic, but there's just something about Terese Nielsen's art that places her above the rest, and it's something I really do enjoy a great deal. With all of that said, it is a brand new year. 2023 is here, so first off, Happy New Year to everybody watching this video the day I record and release it. Now, more often than not, when I'm reviewing a piece of the game, Magic the Gathering, whenever I talk about an aspect of the game, I'm often very negative towards it, and I want that to change. Going forward in 2023, one of my goals is to just be more positive about the game in general, and I figured a way to do that would be to talk about something I unequivocally enjoy, the art of Terese Nielsen. So in this video, I'm going to be going over my top 5 pieces of Magic the Gathering art done by Terese Nielsen, and explaining why I like them so much. But before we get into that, I have a confession. This is not an entirely positive video, because you see, even in Paradise, there are still specks. I do dislike some pieces of Terese Nielsen's art, and before we get into the top 5 favorite art pieces by Terese Nielsen, I do want to talk about my least favorite piece. Now, that is the art of Shattered Perception, a card that came out in the Innistrad Black, I believe. This is such an odd piece to me. It still has that ethereal beauty to it that a lot of Nielsen's other art has, but it seems odd. At the same time, it is both stretched and condensed. The woman here in the foreground seems elongated, almost, and it's kind of hard to tell what's happening at first glance when you look at this picture. The woman's stretched, almost noodle-like, whereas the cathedral above her seems at a kind of odd angle. It's like the woman herself is keeled over, looking down at you, and the cathedral overhead seems strangely condensed, strangely crunched. It's overall very off-putting. It's not an art piece that I like a whole lot, and of Nielsen's arts, it's easily my least favorite. Now, with that said, my mandatory negative opinion is out of the way, and we can start with the top 5. Now, at number 5, we have Garruk Wildspeaker from the dual deck Garruk vs. Liliana. And Nielsen did the art for both of the cards in this dual deck, Garruk Wildspeaker and Liliana Vess, but I like the Garruk art more. Why? Because I like Garruk more. Garruk is one of my favorite characters in Magic the Gathering. I'm always happy to see more of him. Whenever he shows up, I'm usually pretty excited about it. And this art shows off he's still very savage looking in this art. Garruk is a savage, violent, very primal character, and this art still shows off that savage, primal aspect of him. He still looks very ferocious. However, that ferocity is displayed in Nielsen's trademark beautiful ethereal style. He still looks very beautiful despite the fact that he looks like he's about to cave your head in with his axe. You know, Garruk's hair is flowing in the wind here. The fur on his shoulders is flowing. He's posed very aggressively, but in a beautiful way. The soft colors of the background help him kind of pop out of the image almost, in a kind of watercolory, soft way, if that makes sense. Garruk is one of my favorite characters, and he always will be, and beautiful art of one of my favorite characters is always a bonus. At number 4, we have Silver Skin Armor, and I chose this piece for number 4 because it's probably the best example I can find of Nielsen combining her mathematical, geometric art style with her overly beautiful nature personified, almost. The natural beauty combined with the artificial beauty is on full display here. Silverskin armor, of course, is an equipment from the Scars of Mirrodin Block, I believe, and this art is showing it off very well. It's a piece of metal that's going over top a living creature, a very beautiful woman here, and it's turning her into an artifact. It is combining natural beauty with artificial beauty, and it's being displayed very well. I don't have anything more to say about it. I just really like this piece. I like its composition. I like all the crazy circles and squares in the background. I don't know what that's supposed to be, but I like it. Now then, at number 3 we have Jilt. A bit of background for this art. At the end of the invasion storyline, Urza and Gerard both end up in the 9th circle of Phyrexia, standing before Yawgmoth himself, and they are forced to fight each other to the death for the right to become Yawgmoth's new right-hand man and to have their deepest wishes fulfilled by the ineffable. Gerard, as we know, wins that fight, and his wish to Yawgmoth is to have his love, Hana, revived and given back to him. Now, she is revived, and she approaches him very happy to be brought back to life, but Gerard is not fooled. This is not Hana. This is Yawgmoth in disguise, putting his entire essence into this figure in order to get close to Gerard and further manipulate him. Gerard sees through the deception and lashes out violently with the soul-slaying weapon he was given by Yawgmoth himself, and this attack is crippling to Yawgmoth. It causes him so much pain that he forces Gerard out of Phyrexia, back to Dominaria, and this art displays that moment Gerard realizes what's going on. He understands the deception and he lashes out violently, slashing Yawgmoth in the disguise of his beloved Hana. You don't often see Nielsen doing action sequences. Her art doesn't often involve characters in motion, but here we can see that when she does do it, it still comes off as very beautiful. Now, I don't just like this art because it's Terese Nielsen. I like this art because it shows an iconic moment in the story, a pivotal moment where Gerard comes back to his senses, slaps Yawgmoth across the face, picks up Urza's head, and eventually turns the entire invasion around, defeating the ineffable. This is the moment Yawgmoth fails. His death is pretty much written in stone here. He failed to corrupt Gerard, the champion of Dominaria, and so he set himself up to be destroyed shortly after. It's a great piece, and I do very much enjoy it. Now, coming in at number 2, we have another piece of art from Urza's story, and that is the Legacy Weapon. This is quite the piece of art. It showcases all of the artifacts included in the Legacy itself. Yes, at the center you see Karn holding Urza's head, but there's a bunch of other pieces going off here in the art. I'm curious to see how many of you in the comments can successfully name all of the artifacts included in this picture. It's quite the arrangement. Now, I love this art because it fully showcases the assembled Legacy in its entirety. And I still think that this is going to be my second favorite Nielsen piece forever. This is a very wonderful piece of art. I do very much like how serene Urza looks here. After all, this is effectively the moment he wins. However, I don't like the card that this art is attached to. I prefer the original rendition of the Legacy Weapon, where it shows the Weatherlight firing upon Yawgmoth. This is not the Legacy as a weapon. This is the Legacy as an assembly of artifacts, and I don't think it fits the moment of the Legacy Weapon being used. Yes, it's the Legacy Weapon as the assembled artifacts, and that's still true of it, but I just wish that this art had been put on a different card. Maybe not the Legacy Weapon while it's being fired, but the Legacy Weapon as a collection. I'd still like the art, though. Now, at number 1, we have my favorite piece of Terese Nielsen art, and that is Bassandra Battle Seraph, the angel who debuted in Commander 2011. And I don't know what to say. This is an absolutely beautiful, sexy, and very powerful looking angel. When I first started playing Magic the Gathering, the store owner showed me a bunch of oversized Commander cards. He was trying to get me into Commander, and this one in particular stood out to me because I was like, whoa, it's just an angel in a bikini. That's amazing. I thought this was the best piece of art ever. I didn't know who Terese Nielsen was at the time. I didn't know that individual artists were even credited on the cards. I didn't, really read that kind of thing. And this piece caught me completely off guard because I was too used to Yu-Gi-Oh! At the time, which was a very sanitized game. All the art looked the same. For Magic, I was kind of caught off guard by how different all the art looked at the time. It was very strange to me. I was, too used to how Yu-Gi-Oh! Did it, and this art in particular really stood out to me. Later on, I realized that it was Terese Nielsen who did this art, and I absolutely fell in love with it even more. I've built a Bassandra deck on and off several times over the last few years, in part just because I love this art so much that I've just desired to have a Commander deck. Unfortunately, Bassandra's just not that good in Commander. She's, been power crept to hell in the years since she released, but I still like the card, and I still very much love the art. Now then, that is my top 5 pieces of Terese Nielsen art used in the game. What is your favorite art piece from the game? Not just for Terese Nielsen, but in general. I would love to hear it. Let me know in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, of course, leave a like, subscribe, share with a friend, all that jazz. I will see you guys in the next video, and again, have a great new year.